It's been a minute. I didn't stream last week because if you're in the Discord, you probably read this. I don't think I made a community post in the end about this. Probably should have. But what happened is for next month's devlog, which is going to go up in like 2 or 3 weeks from now, I decided that, hey, let's do like a 12-hour game development session. And I wanted to prepare for that by not overworking myself throughout the week, right? So that I would have the required energy to, and that is my air fryer. I'll get into that story in a minute. To not overwork myself too much. In hindsight, maybe I should have done it the other way around. Maybe I should have just streamed? I don't know what the past tense of that is. Last week and taken this week off because I am mighty tired, let me tell you. Turns out taking a Saturday to just do 12 hours of game development, between you and me, it was like 9 hours on Saturday, and then I did a couple of hours on Sunday because I just couldn't. I'm not going to like incorporate that in the script too much because I don't think it flows very well for the story. But it was mostly on the Saturday, and it was still like very draining. So giving up pretty much an entire weekend for that, turns out quite draining. So I'm tired right now. There's going to be a wild stream as a result of it. And we're going to have fun. So last time we did a little bit of animation, and I just entirely forgot what is going on with my animation here. So let's take a look at all that. Also, I've got RuneScape running. I've got a much more AFK thing going on than woodcutting, which I've been doing the last couple of streams. So we should just be able to focus a little bit more on the actual progress of what we're doing here. What was I going with this? Oh yeah, animation. Again, I am like not 100% there today, and you're just gonna kind of have to deal with that. I can also hear... Oh, hold on. I still have got my heating on. I'm not going to stream for 2 hours with heating on, so I'm going to turn that off real quick. I was going to say, I'm hearing some like water trickling down somewhere, but that's in my radiator, so let me go fix that real quick. And then also, if I don't forget, tell the air fryer story, because that's fucking wild. Okay, so animation and air frying story. Let's get going on this. First and foremost, let's make sure that I'm up to date with the animation stuff. Because by the time we get in a flow, when we get working, I can tell the air fryer stuff. Okay, what we have is the both for the scythe with the hand closed. We have the I don't even know what this was supposed to be honest with you. Oh, I think this is an animation that we ended up not using because it's the scythe arm idle. But I think when we started doing the passive arm idle, we just did both arms, right? No, we did not. Okay. We'll look into that in a moment. But we've got this one, which I still really like the fluidity of the motion in this one. And then we've just got the hovering up and down, right? Yeah. Which, frankly, I don't know if that needs an animation clip. I could probably just do that through, like, offsets. No, those animations are not brought over from Blender. Those are all made in Unreal. I like doing everything as much as possible, unless there's like a very good reason not to do something. Oh, fuck. Of course, the moment I start streaming, the thing runs out. Let's go switch our mining place real quick, and then we won't have to look at RuneScape for like another 20 to 30 minutes, so we'll be fine. I like doing things as much as possible in just like one program, not switching back and forth too much, because switching back and forth a lot just introduces opportunity for things to go wrong with either importing or exporting or whatever, right? So there's definitely programs where it makes more sense. Like ZBrush is just better for sculpting than Blender, so I import and export for that. Substance Painter especially, it's so much better for animation. Blender, not particularly like better for animation than Unreal, so I prefer doing it in Unreal. All that said though, I suppose that means that we're going to be doing the scythe arm animation first, and then we'll blend those together for like the normal idle animation that we have, and then we'll be moving on to the rest of the animations that we're doing. Also, hello everybody watching this. This is a very chaotic start to the stream. I'm guessing this is gonna be a very chaotic stream, so get used to it, because I am running on like minus 10% energy today. By the time this stream is over in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, it's probably going to be a slightly shorter stream than usual, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably just going to go ahead and die, is my guess. So, what do we have here? We just have like this, and then it goes back, right? That's like the entire loop we have going on there. I don't know that it necessarily needs that much more. It might be a little bit more like rotation that we want to add to it, but this is like 29 frames. Let's just make that 30 frames, just because it's easier to do the math on 30 than 29. And then at 60 frames, we're just going to reset this back to here. And then we'll do some curve editing in a moment. Yeah, we definitely need to do some curve editing in a moment. Because that doesn't look great. I also probably want the wrist for this guy to... Where are you? Why are you not showing me the thing that I want you to be showing me? Is that because I know? Why are you not showing that to me? Oh, it's because I'm in game mode. That's why. Also brings me back to the good old days. That is kind of what I'm going for. Like, there's a few temporary textures. Like, these are temporary materials, I should point out, by the way. The final materials, if we substance painter, are much more detailed. But this is just a geometry. Like, man, I need to set this camera speed lower. Like, these teeth like have no definition whatsoever in this. Kind of the same with the cloth. But if I open here substance and then I open recent Reaper, I'm very distractible today, even more so than usual. Like, this is the look of the like final textures, which I just haven't like put into Unreal yet. But still, I'm kind of going for a style where like a lot of my like formative memories are PlayStation 2 games. So kind of the thing that I'm personally going for here is capturing the vibe and the feeling of PlayStation 2 games, but like, I'm saying like a lot. You can tell I'm tired because I start like relying, exactly. I start relying on words like that. Capturing the style and feel of PS2 games, but in a modern engine. So it's a little more... The way I like to explain it is I'm trying to make a game that looks like the way we thought the PlayStation 2 era games looked like, right? When you were like 10, if you're about my age, around the PS2 era, you were about like 10, 12. When you were sitting down and playing a game, like Kingdom Hearts is a great example, but also like Shadow of the Colossus. I'm gonna try to stop saying like every 2 sentences, I promise you. But also, Shadow of the Colossus is a really good example, and that actually is a good example because there's a PS4 version of that game that actually looks really good. The PS2 version looked really good at the time. Looking back at it, the PS2 version kind of still looks like shit. So I want to capture more or less that vibe of what we thought PS2 games looked like, which with a modern engine, I think we can pretty much do. The pink really fits him. Yeah, this is a slightly more like vibrant. I'm going there again with the like. This is a slightly more vibrant, lighter purple. This cloth itself also still has quite a bit of purple in it. It's just a lot darker. I can go maybe a little lighter on it because he's color coded his entire dungeon to be purple. So maybe that could be a little bit. I'm getting distracted again, I know. If I go through this, somewhere in here there is a color option, base. We're going to set you to up there. I could set this to be a little bit lighter. I actually don't dislike that, to be honest with you. I just need to figure out. Yeah, so the dirt color then also needs to be a fair bit lighter. I like that. Cool. That's not what I'm doing at the moment. I'm trying to make an animation. What's going on all? I'm trying to like stop saying like, first and foremost. I'm also trying to deal with my internet just dying over and over and over and over again. That'll be why. Hold on. Stop syncing. Hold on. Can I? Hold on a moment. This is the issue. Can I? Oh, there we. I disabled notifications, not the actual syncing. Okay, so my internet will be better now. I'm sorry about that. I thought I disabled the Dropbox syncing, but I did not. I only disabled the notifications. At the same time, though, I am losing my mind because I am tired as all fuck. So, welcome to the breakdown of me as a person, pretty much. Let's see. Yeah, I think we just need to play around a little bit with the curves on this one. I think that's really all there is to it. I mean, I wouldn't say that he's not pink. Either. Like, specifically the scythe. It's got purple as its main color, but if you just make purple lighter, it kind of just becomes pink. So, you're not wrong about, like, the pink thing. I swear to God. I'm killing myself. I hope you guys aren't annoyed by me saying like as much as I am, because I fucking hate it. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do here either. That's... let's actually keep these connected. And just pull them out a little bit more like this. And we'll see how that works. Probably not that well. No, don't break them. I just need them to be extended. I think colorblind made me really think that. What color do you see this as? Like, even if I make this darker, now we can agree this is purple, right? It's just when I set this to like -5. Okay, that's also still quite purple. Anyway, that's just one of the controls. Yeah, it's also, I think, it's mostly this one that I want to worry about, I think. I just want to flatten out these curves, right? Let's just pretend like these animations are COVID. So we want to flatten the curve. We also want that animation just to be slower, I think. And have a little bit of overshoot. So a little bit more like this might do well. And then if all those joints have a slightly different timing to those overshoots, I think that's going to make it feel more organic as well. And even differences between the different axes in their overshooting. And then we'll slow this down in a moment. Specifically the wrist probably needs the most of it, because that's naturally where a lot of the rotation for the scythe itself comes in. But maybe not too much, because it's actually clipping into the body now. So that's, I think the Z is... No, it's mostly the X. To be fair, I did go a little overboard there, probably. You like old adventure games like Monkey Island? That game name does ring a bell. Let me check. Monkey Island. I don't think I've ever played this, but it does look pretty cool. What kind of game? Well, it's an adventure game. Oh, it's like a point and click. From the screenshots I can see, I think, right? Like a slightly more more engaging, or more, less so. Let me rephrase that. Like a slightly older version, as in older people playing it, older kids playing it, than like Pajama Sam or like Spy Fox, Freddy Fish, that kind of game. Well, Freddy Fish actually is a significantly different game. Put Put is a better example. I mean, I played literally all those games that I just listed. I think I played like most of the iterations of all of those games as a kid. Again, Freddy Fish isn't really like point and click in any way, so that doesn't really fit. But it's, I think, the same publisher, maybe even the same developer who made those. So kind of just slipped in there. But that's definitely a different kind of game. I've never played Monkey Island. It looks like it is kind of similar, but it looks like it's aimed at like a slightly older demographic, which makes sense because the games that I just listed were like actual baby games. Which doesn't make them bad. Again, if the entire collection wasn't like $150 on Steam, I'd probably own all of them. And to be fair, $150 for all of those games is... I think it's about 40 games or something like that. So that's still a good deal. If you want to re-experience a little bit of nostalgia for them or something like that. I'm going to break up these tangents a little bit because I want the curve to feel a little bit more like that. But not quite like that. I mostly want the length of that one, I think, to be... also, I think what I want for this one is also maybe to have... Maybe I want something a little bit more like this. Have a little bit more like rolling feeling to its wrist, right? That kind of works if we extend this one out a little bit and then do a little bit more like that. I think that works pretty well. Maybe it's coming a little bit too much from the wrist at this point. Maybe like we could have a little bit more rotation from the elbow as well, because the elbow is looking really stiff. Pajama Sam is that's the one out of them all that I played the most, I think. I think my order is Pajama Sam, Spy Fox, and then Put Put. Is there any more games from that like unofficial series? Also, hold on, I gotta ban a bitch. There we go. On Twitch, that is. Yeah, the point and click games genre as a whole has just kind of stopped existing, which is sad because it was very fun. Also, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, my RuneScape just died. You know what? We'll just do it without RuneScape for today. Everything is going according to plan. I swear, everything is fine. What is happening now? I just removed my chat. I just removed my Twitch chat. Of course I did. Where did my Twitch chat go? For fuck's sake. Hold on, I'll be back with everybody in a second. Twitch, where did you go? Chat. Twitch chat. Also, hold on, there's two chat windows. Is this also YouTube chat? No, it's just a plugin that no longer works. Okay. I'll pretend like everything is fine. And this... Okay, we're back. We're back. Genuine question. How difficult is it to do your own motion capture for animation? Hasn't Unreal added a lot of features? I don't know about motion capture because I don't have any motion capture stuff. From what I understand, it's not that difficult if you have some hardware for it. I don't know how... There's also software solutions for it these days where you can just like have an app on your phone and get pretty good 3D motion data from just video. I don't know how well those work because I've never tried them. I imagine they're not as good as having like actual mocap hardware though. And most mocap, as far as I'm aware, still need to have some level of manual cleanup done afterwards. So do keep that in mind. But most like big AAA style games at this point use mocap for a large portion, especially realistic games, of their animation. So I think it's pretty well matured at this point. If you're doing something more stylized, if you're doing something for a character that isn't human, you probably just want to animate it. Because mocapping something that moves not like a human. Mocapping something with proportions that are not exactly like a human is a whole fucking profession of it in and of itself. And there's only a couple of people that are alive that do it well, right? The what's his name? The guy that does like Gollum and did the Planet of the Apes movie, Caesar, and he also isn't it also the guy who plays that one guy in the MCU? I think. Not a mocap. There he is actually just an actor. But he does it very well, like his body acting. But it's really difficult to do that properly. Yeah, and one of the games in the Pajama Sam series specifically is also not a point-and-click game. It's a weird, like, mini-game thing. At some point I bought it and I was, like, kind of pissed off. This was before Steam could refund. So I spent, like, $5 on a game and it wasn't what I wanted. Where am I going with this? Also, I had an air fryer story. I was going to tell that. Give me a moment and I'll probably forget it again. Animations. I'm guessing character, bosses, Reaper. Where even have I got the control rig stored for this guy? Do I have that in 3D models, characters, bosses, Reaper? This is so unorganized. Yeah, the control rig is here. Probably gonna be moving that to the animation because that makes a lot more sense. And then the animation blueprints we still need to make, I believe. So let's make an animation blueprint for this guy. Anim BP Reaper, and we'll move that to the animation folder as well. That's the guy, Andy what's his face. He's really fucking good. And there's also like a whole team of actual like animators then who go over it and clean that up still, I'm sure. I'm sure that what we're seeing on screen still isn't raw mocap data. Why do we not have... I know why we don't have that. Okay, let's focus here for a moment. Level sequences. Can't have spaces in your folders because that would be... just like, hate it. Can I bulk make animation clips? Is my next question. Because if I can, that would be amazing. If I can't, it's not that big a deal. But I'm guessing that I can. Let's see. Or maybe not. Well, then we're going to make them one at a time. Because we have to do it in here, that's right. Create linked animation sequence. And that's going to be in character Reaper. No, it's going to be in animations. Characters, boss, Reaper. Just going to put it in there for now. And we'll call this... What even is this animation that I have right now? That's a very fucking good question, isn't it? I think this is just the... Oh, it is just the up and down idle. Okay. Animation sequence, and now we need to go through the entire path again because Unreal hates me. Not in the level sequences. Reaper, hover, Reaper idle, hover. It does look kind of cute. That's partly because it's lacking textures. I personally think that this is, if you ignore the doodling I did on his face, because that's definitely temporary and me just being... It's still pretty cute, in a way. But I would argue that this feels slightly more intimidating already. But it's still not like a horror movie level scary or anything like that. For the most part, it's pretty cutesy. For the most part, most things in the game are either like slightly cutesy in that they're very stylized, or what I like to call Final Fantasy scary, right? There's some things in Final Fantasy that, there's some things in Final Fantasy that are very Lovecraftian, to be fair. But a lot of things in Final Fantasy, specifically like before Final Fantasy 9, so Final Fantasy like 7 and 8, if we talk about the 3D, 9 to a certain extent. Starting with 10, the monsters started to be a little bit more gross in some ways, I feel. But a lot of monsters in Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, I feel, fall into this category, which Final Fantasy 10 is my favorite in the series, but I played a shit ton of 9. Well, to be fair, I watched my older brother play a shit ton of 9 when I was little, so probably there's a lot of influence there as well. This is the idle arm, so that is Reaper, idle, passive arm. I can chill with his death. You probably can. I hope that when you fight him in the game, you're going to get annoyed, because that's kind of the point of the game, getting annoyed at boss fights. Souls-likes, isn't it fun? This is not going to be Dark Souls levels of difficulty, though. Don't worry. It's going to be an easy Souls-like, because I can't be bothered making actually difficult boss fights, because making a boss fight that is difficult is actually really, well, difficult, because the balance between it being unfair and it just being difficult is very, very thin. So the boss fights are probably going to end up being somewhat more on the conservative side as far as difficulty goes, as a result of that, just because I don't really have a lot of manpower to either test or to create those boss fights, because I'm doing it all by myself. People on the Discord and on the YouTube channel, everybody here, they're free to help me with playtesting. I very much appreciate anybody who playtests whenever I need feedback. But that still is nothing in comparison to like an actual AAA game can do as far as testing goes, of course. This is the Reaper idle scythe arm. I'm spending quite a long time just naming these at this point, and this is just a closed fist, so that's not even an idle animation, that's just a pose for which I'm using an animation, because I still haven't figured out exactly what the hell is up with using blend poses and stuff like that. I really need to take a look into that, but I've just been doing so many other things. It's unreal. Yeah, okay, I'll shut up. Well, actually, no, I won't shut up, because that's presumably what you guys are here for, me losing my mind. Rapper, that also will be an interesting boss fight. A rap battle against death. Reaper closed hand. Yeah, if I have to choose between staying on the side of like, let's make it a little bit more difficult, or erring on the side of safety with the player, I'm gonna go with the latter. Because I don't want the fights to feel unfair and infuriating. So what I'm going to probably take as my reference point is when it's relatively easy for me, that probably means it is moderately difficult for a new player. Because at this point already, I have spent more time in the gameplay for this game than any other person on Earth ever will. Even if this becomes like the next big indie hit, which it won't, but let's just fantasize. A couple of years from now, I'm a fucking multi-millionaire because this is the best-selling indie game ever. There's not a single person, like maybe some insane speedrunner. There's not a single person with like a life like speedrunners, don't get me wrong, that's going to clock in more hours in the game than I've already spent in it just running through testing mechanics. So at this point, if something is easy for me, that doesn't mean anything. If something is slightly challenging for me, that probably means it's actually like stupidly difficult. So that's kind of what I'm going for in my personal testing. And then I'm not making any decisions on like difficulty and boss patterns and stuff like that until I've seen other people play it. Because I am just not a good, just not a good milestone anymore to judge things based off of. Anyway, we now have, after like 10 minutes of me just fucking about, we now have the animation sequences for these. So we can, animation sequences, why is there only 3 of them? Closed hand, hover, scythe arm, Did I not save this one? No, I just saved it in the wrong location, apparently. Where did I save this? Browse to asset. That makes sense. We can just move it over there. That's fine. Okay. Now that we have that going on, let's actually put these into here. So we have the hovering up and down, which we'll probably need to slow down. Then the closed hand, which will just blend at the very end here. And then we have the passive arm and the scythe arm, which will also blend together. So apply additive. I think I need to set up additive stuff for those animations, because if I just apply it like this, he just leaves. Yep, he certainly does. So the hover is going to not be anything as far as like additive stuff goes, but all of these are going to be, just need to look up, yeah, this is no additive. I think we want to make them additive in local space. And once we do that for all of them, apparently that one is already, oh, I need to double click it, yeah. That still doesn't quite do it, but that's because I'm using the wrong thing as the base. This needs to be the additive, this needs to be the base. And then this also does not work like that. Hold on. I'll look over a chat in a minute again. I'm just trying to maintain focus for longer than 2 seconds on something, which is really quite tricky for me today. So that goes into the base there. And in theory, that should now have everything. Or not. Me watching this as a speedrunner. I mean, again, I like speedrunners. They are insane people who I was sitting on my jacket, which is not good for my spine. Speedrunners are insane people. Let's be honest about that. But they're like very awesome, insane people. That's also just straight up not what I should be doing there. Okay, we're back at something, but he's way too fucking big. But I think that might just be due to having one too many additive applications here. You know, something's happening. I don't know what's going wrong here. Characters, enemies. Let's open the basic Reaper animation blueprint, see what I did there, because I'm pretty sure that this is the same that I did there, and for him it worked, so I don't fucking know what's going on here. Yeah, so we've got the Reaper idle. And that is non-additive. Now we've got the looking left and right, and that is additive in local space. Skeletal reference pose. Maybe we just need to do additive from the 0th frame in these animations. I don't think this one actually matters. Let's check out what that does. That just makes him go back to a T-pose. And the funniest part is he doesn't even do the hover anymore. So I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Loop it. You are right. You are entirely right. That was the issue. They're not looping. Loop animation. There we go. You are a genius. I mean, they're going the wrong direction now, but that's because of my mistake just a moment ago. If I set those back to... Yes. Okay. You are a genius and I am an idiot. Like, the combination of those works out real well for me today. Thank you. As I've been saying, I'm doing today's stream with like 1.5 brain cells, so any help is very welcome. Okay, so that's not quite what I was hoping for. But it's a fucking start, isn't it? Okay, so the passive arm is weird. But I think the active arm pretty much does what I wanted to do. Or active arm than the scythe arm. So... I think the issue is because it's using... Okay, hold on. I might have an idea. Because the scythe arm animation has him turned, which I suppose I can just implement in one of the other animations. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, the sidearm animation itself is now fucked, but we can maybe if we do this based on the hover animation. Yeah, so that animation is weird because it now just fucked. Yeah, I didn't think that was gonna do much. We'll get there, I promise you. We'll get there. Okay, so we're gonna go back to this. I'm actually just going to set these side by side because that's okay, that's definitely wrong. That is the wrong direction still. Layered blend per bone might actually be a better way of doing this, to be honest with you. I honestly am not thinking too much today, so you're probably right. Let's go find that. There we go. Then we can let's just use those for all of them actually. I think it'll work better for what we're doing here. The apply additive still works fairly well when you need to like apply additively. If you have all your animations based on the same T-pose, just some of my animations at the moment aren't, and I think that's what's fucking me. But here I should be able to can I make like a blend mask? It's been a while since I've branch filter. Bone name and blend depth. Okay, so now I need to get the names of those bones. It's gonna be a thing. Actually not that bad because we can just get arm right. I can just copy this over, right? Can I can just copy that over. So if I say arm right and then the blend depth will be like 3. Well, that certainly did a thing. Why set this to a higher number? Is it blending in the wrong direction? Do I need to say... No, that doesn't make sense. It's taking this, right? So it's this and then blend depth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know. Curve blend option. Do not override. Normalize by weights. Last pose that contains valid curve value override it. I want to add it. See, I'm gonna be real. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. But I don't think this is doing what I needed to do. Unless I'm doing this on the wrong arm? Is that what's going on? No, that's definitely not it. Can I set up blend masks in here or something? Is that how that works? Set blend weight to 0. That would be weird if that's the way that works, but it's worth a try. So let's add that back in. Blend depth. I'm still going to set it to 3. Going to compile that, and if we set this to 0, it should do just nothing, right? Yeah, it doesn't do anything. What if I set it to -1? Also doesn't do anything. But that might be due to... I'll do this one animation at a time, first and foremost. That might be more desirable too. Yeah, so I'm gonna do away with this for the time being, because this isn't working for me. Do we have any other blending stuff? What is just blend? I think that just blends between two animations. I don't think that's what I want, but let's give it a shot. Oh, and that might be like... Hold on. I think I understand what might have been going wrong there a moment ago. These sequence players are set to being additive, and that might have been fucking things up a little bit. So if we just put this one in there, and then go back here and say that it is non-additive, so not additive at all, that might fix our issue. That seems like it does fix our issue. Do we then need to... Is it just that stiff? It might just be that stiff. Let's do this for the rest of the animation too and see what it looks like. Because this might still just be a better way of doing it. We'll see. I feel like we're not going to be doing much animation today. I don't know if you guys have the same feeling about this, but I feel like there's not going to be a lot of actual animation that will be done here. So this is the left arm all the way down. I suppose this is nice if you want certain parts of certain animations to be blending. Because the additive thing applies an entire animation on top of another animation. So far, I must admit, I'm not a huge fan. But you can also take only parts of an animation, because that's what I'm doing right here by accident, I think. Because if I go to like the closed, no, the scythe arm, that is where you have... Okay, so I'm doing this from the wrong bone. Because I want to be doing this from not the arm, but from spine 6. But actually I want to be... Okay, so this one I probably just do want to apply for the entire mesh, to be honest. So, we'll see. If I just set this to spine 1 and then set this to like, I don't know, how many is that? Like 12? Question mark? That animation just also needs a little bit more work. Oh, yeah, no, that is the issue. That is an issue. It's overriding. It's not... But that is actually a thing that is... if we use max value on all these... Yeah, okay, so... There's still an option to make that work. And this one should also be looping. That might also be part of the issue. Right? If I now set this to overwrite though, it will still do it. Okay, I have no idea what I'm talking about. What do you feel like you are just reinventing the wheel? Yeah, I mean, I had the thing going, and then I had a question in chat about layering per bone, and I must say, I don't really see a reason to do it this way, personally. For my character here, anyway. Because just layering them additively makes more sense to me, personally, but what do you know? The skeleton design is entirely done by myself, yeah. Yeah, no, this seems needlessly adding extra steps to the process with the way I designed the animations to begin with. But again, I can see why this could still be useful. So we'll take the hand R and then like a depth of... Would that be 4? Does the depth take the... Is that inclusive or exclusive though, is the question. I mean, if you're blending additively and your base pose is a T pose, it'll only apply like any transformation from the T pose, which was the issue that I was having before, actually, probably. Is because one of my animations, well, no, actually it wasn't. No, never mind, I'm an idiot. Because it takes the T pose as a base and just says, okay, this animation does XYZ rotation, location, animation to this bone. So I'm just going to take my input bone, transform, and then apply that in like a local space to whatever it already has. So if a bone isn't animated in the T-pose when you're applying additively, it's not going to like snap back to the T-pose suddenly, because it's doing it additively like entirely in local space. So that's how that works. This is fun to play with though. And again, I can definitely see uses for this, but the way I made my animations like entirely like T-pose based anyway. Specifying the bones seems to add more complexity where I don't think that would have been necessary. But at this point, we've got this working now, so I'm just going to stick with it. Because I don't want to go back. And there's also the fact that these now don't have to be set up as being additive animation. So if I wanted to use those same animation clips for whatever fucking reason in a non-additive way, I now still could, which is actually pretty interesting. So again, I'm not saying that these nodes here are useless in any way, shape or form, but if you're just adding a animation on top of like a T-pose with like one arm waving, for instance, on top of a pre-existing animation like I was before, I don't think that this really gives you that much extra. But it does require you to like do certain things where you can make mistakes, and with my current brain, making mistakes is quite likely. So yeah, all that. I mean, reinventing the wheel definitely is not a bad thing. Sometimes it's a waste of time, but it's also the opposite of that is the way people, and believe me, I deal with this quite a lot. The opposite of that is people who just look up a tutorial on YouTube and copy things one-to-one without even bothering to try to understand what is going on, and then run into an issue where they can't find a tutorial for a very, very, very specific niche thing for which nobody's ever going to make a tutorial. So instead of spending like 10 tutorials actually dissecting why things work and how they work, they just copy paste other people's work and call it a day. And then when they have to come up with something themselves, they can't do it. So there's two sides to that. Yeah, reinventing the wheel is a bit of a waste of time sometimes, but just following along, only copying what other people have done, is going to also fuck you over. So like, you need to build an understanding of the tools you're using, not just a catalog of tutorials to copy. And that's what I try to like drill into people with my tutorials as well. But not everybody takes to it. How long did it take to make this? Well, I'm still in the process of making it for the animation. I'm not going to be counting the hour that I just wasted setting literally only like this up because that doesn't seem right. But I think even without that, we're at like hour 14 or something. Between the modeling, the sculpting, the retopology, the texturing, the rigging, all that kind of stuff, then there's some animation stuff. By the time we're done with this, and then we'll need to program him, by the time we're done with this, I expect we'll have spent about 20 to 25 hours on the creation of this thing entire. Maybe a little bit more, I don't know, but I think we're about 12 to 15 hours in. But that is from nothing to finished programmed boss fight. So for the character design alone, without like any of the technical stuff like retopology, which this thing doesn't have retopology, don't get me wrong. So just the sculpting of it and then the texturing, if we count that, that would probably come down to about 6 hours or something like that. Yeah, so all that said, we now have this, which is technically something, I suppose. I want to look at this in the world. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to set this to a animation blueprint, and we'll set this to Reaper animation blueprint, and I don't know why this animation isn't being applied properly. Probably because it's not using the shoulder animation for whatever reason. So I'm assuming that the layered by blend. Oh no, I am layering from spine 001. Yeah, the scythe is on a socket, so I have very bad frame rate. I have. Give me a moment here to make this a little bit lighter for you. I said a little bit, not that much. Come on. So we have the arm bone here, then we have another arm bone, then we have a hand bone, and I made a socket as a child of the hand bone just a little bit offset so that the scythe immediately fits into it. Realistically, I could have just parented it to the hand bone and then moved it around, but a socket is just like a transform. It's not that much extra data, and it does make things a little bit easier. So why? So why? If we just make this 1. I'm just trying to figure out this node at this point. I think I'm crashing. This feels like it's crashing, isn't it? Yep, that's a crash. But let's look at these textures for a moment then. This might be the reason that we were crashing, because designer's probably taking up quite a bit of VRAM, and I don't have enough of that as is to go around. Like not even close. I'm working on a GPU with 6 GB of VRAM, and this guy has like 4 sets of 8K textures. It says 4K, that's the export resolution. The project resolution is 8K. And then it has like 4 or 5 texture maps per material. So there's a lot of data that is probably keeping in VRAM. I was taking screenshots a moment ago. Levels. Today is quite something, isn't it? Why is it not opening my shit? Why can I not close my shit? Why can I not move? What the actual hell is going on in my life? Can open that. Yeah, let's close substance. I feel like that might be causing some issues. We did change a thing about it, which I actually do like the more purple color that we have. Okay, that now I can actually move stuff and it responds. It might have actually been substance that was messing me up there. I've been working on the skeleton for a while. I also have made fucking no progress in today's stream so far. Because I'm going to be real, I'm mostly at this point streaming out of a sense of what the fuck is going on with his arm. Oh, because this one is marked as additive. I'm mostly streaming today out of a sense of obligation. Not that I'm not having fun, I'm having a blast, but we're just not doing much. Because I didn't stream last week due to me doing a 12-hour recording session for a video, which was not a great idea. And that's also the reason that I am kind of fucked today. Is I spend 12 hours in a day working on the game. It's going to make for a very fun video. It just doesn't make for very good mental health and physical health for me. So don't expect me to make a habit out of that unless that video goes mega viral, in which case who needs to be healthy anyway. Um, okay, so that's now moving 1, 2, 3. 4? I think it's already moving the wrist. But if it moves some of the fingers that don't actually do anything, on top of that, I don't think that really will matter. So let's go back into the animation level. But even without today being a clusterfuck of a stream, we have been working on this guy for a while. And at some point, we'll have finished up the animations and we can move on to programming, which I'm fucking glad that we're not programming today. That would have been a mess. But once we get into the programming part of it, it'll probably be another couple of streams before we have a functioning first draft of the boss fight. I'm not even looking for that. I'm looking for the animation level. So let's take a look at how we do with animation blueprints, Reaper. Why is he not moving? He's not moving. Why is he not moving? He was moving a moment ago. Oh, hold on. It might be. Yeah, it's not renamed properly. So, what? No, it is renamed properly. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Click play. Yeah, but it was also it was moving in the viewport a moment ago. I suppose it doesn't really matter if it works in play mode, because that was what I was planning to do anyway. And it does work in play mode, so that's fine. It's kind of amazing how the scythe and the other arm don't clip through each other. But I do think that the scythe arm should be slowed down a little bit, which luckily we can just do right in here because we've got a play rate. So we can just set that to like 0.65. What's play rate basis? What's the difference actually? Basis is frame rate. Play rate is expressed and is used to rescale play rate inputs. For example, 100 means play rate will be play rate inputs divided by 100. Oh, so this is just multiplication and this is just division. I suppose it's nice that you have both of them so that you don't need to calculate one or the other. It's very dark in this map because I don't have the lighting set up for what my camera settings are. But I think I quite like this for an outline animation. I also like the fact that when it's dark, you actually can't see up the hood of the skull. That is by design. It's not. It's really not. But it does give him a spooky feel. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good outline animation. Yeah, I didn't know animation blueprints played in the viewport either, but they did a moment ago. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. Maybe that was a bug. Frankly, that could have just been a bug. The engine did crash shortly after that happened. So maybe it's not supposed to. Anyway, we're an hour in. Who wants to make some animations? Because I think we are due for some animations. That was my to-do list for the video. Let's see. If we open a notes list, I think I have a animation Reaper thing here, right? So we've got an idle animation. We've actually fucking done this one now. So can we done that? And that one. We need a couple of simple animations for him swinging his scythe. I really want to get into doing some IK stuff where the swing animation is getting offsets by a certain like IK driven thing where he's actually swinging at the player instead of just facing toward the player and swing and doing a stock swing animation. Because that is an issue that I have with my current boss fight, where it's just too easy to avoid because it's always like the same trajectory. There's like 2 or 3 different swings that he can do, but still that is very static. So I want that to be more dynamic, but I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to calculate that, because calculating where the hand needs to be in order for the scythe blade to overlap with where the player is going to be is like, what? How do you even math, right? If I just want to say, okay, put the hand here and use IK to position the arm structure for that, that's easy. That's not a problem. But calculating where the hand needs to be to drive the swing of a weapon, I'm going to need to do a little bit of research for that. So we're just going to make the base animation here, because we're still going to need a base animation, which we then offset with IK, is what I'm assuming. Newbie here. What's the difference between an animation blueprint, and animation sequence? An animation montage too. I have a video on animation montages, but I can go through them really quickly. If we have an animation, can mean a lot of things. There's not such a thing as just an animation. As in, you can refer to anything that moves as an animation. So we have, and I'm using this, I will have you know, as a distraction for not having to animate. So we've got level sequences here, and these are the timelines in which we make the animation. So we have a level sequence in which we have a timeline with keyframes that drive my control rig that I've made. And that creates, in this case, a part of the animation, because we're blending these animations together. But level sequences can't be directly input into an animation blueprint. So from those, we make, and you can do it by like right-clicking here and then create linked animation sequence. We create animation sequences, and those are the clips which you probably refer to when you mean, which you probably meant when you refer to animations. So this is an animation sequence. If you open it up, it's like one of those clips with like a green underline, and this is just like animation data in these clips, right? So these are the animations that we've made in a usable format. Animation blueprints are just the logic of how you play those animations. So in this case, we'll say, okay, start with the hover animation, then we're going to layer, blend that with the scythe arm, then the output from that we're going to layer blend with the passive arm, which is this one over here. And then we'll layer blend that with the closed hand, which should be a pose, but I couldn't be fucked, so that's an animation. It should be a pose. And that then gets put into the output pose. That's the animation graph. You can also put state machines in here and stuff. Again, I've got videos specifically on those. But you also have a little bit of a event graph here to do some coding stuff. So work with values, and some of these things like the blend weight is just a float value. You can drive that by doing code in your event graph here. So that's what an animation blueprint is just a bunch of logic to drive how animations get applied, get blended, and so on and so forth. If I open the animation blueprint here for the basic Reaper, for instance, you can see that I have, this is just like the tick events for the animation, and then it casts to the blueprint for the Reaper itself. So that's the thing that's driving the actual logic for the character instead of just the animation. And there it gets some values, and based on that it sets a variable in the animation blueprint, which is then used in this blend poses by bool. But it also is where you store your animation notifies. So if we go into one of my attacking animations for this guy. So we have the attack left hand. Maybe that's on the montage. It's on the montage. So we have these animation notifies here. And when we get to this point in the animation, when it plays back, it fires off the corresponding event in this blueprint, which in this case just activates and deactivates some particle systems and stuff like that. Which brings us to montages, and then we're actually going to go back into doing some animation work probably. A montage is to play in one of these slots. So in your animation graph here, you can put in these slots, and this is just, it usually overrides whatever comes into it, but you can set it to only override or blend with certain sets of bones as well. It's not really something that I'm not going to go very deep into right now. But this is mostly animation montages are what you use for actions. So in this case, you can see my montages, like those are the blue ones. That is a attack animation, and another attack animation, and another attack animation, and a death animation, and a revenge attack animation, and a disappearing animation. So those are actions that it can do, and those montages are very easy to play from code. Where you can just say, okay, whatever animation blueprint you have right now, we're going to see if you have a slot that corresponds with the montage that I'm trying to play, and if so, play this montage on that slot. And you can set up what slot a montage it corresponds to in the montage itself. So those are handy for attack animations and that kind of stuff. So that, yeah. As for the sky thing, I have no idea why your sky wouldn't render in your animation if you have it in your scene. Not entirely sure about that. So there's a little bit of detour about the different animation stuff that we have in Unreal. Let's make a attack animation. So I'm just going to copy over this one, and we're going to call that Reaper Quick Attack 1. And this one is eventually going to turn into a montage, by the way, just to give you a bit of perspective. Think of notifiers, they're like timestamp keyframes in the animation, sends a message to trigger an event. That's pretty much it, yeah. It's just, it's not quite a keyframe because it's not on a frame basis, it's on a time basis. If you look at this, well, actually, if you look at this, this is like, these are keyframes, and those are specifically like on a frame basis. And the timeline here is, hold on, actually, let me open a little program here that's going to help me show things off a little bit. There we go. You can see that this timeline is on a 30 FPS basis. So everything here has to be set to a certain frame. Unreal is a little bit of a bitch in that you can scale your animations, and when you do that, your keyframes don't snap to a frame. They should. They are keyframes. It's one of my issues with Unreal's animation system. When you just scale your animations like this, these keyframes can land in between frames, and that's really annoying. You can see this is frame 32, this is frame 31. This keyframe exists in a void between the two of them. That should not be possible. Unreal, fucking please fix that. It's really annoying. But the... as you can see here, we have... What the fuck is going on there? We have this animation montage here, where we have this... I can't zoom in anymore. But we can move this around on a much finer basis than actual frames very easily. Because this triggers based on a time, not on a frame. Because those frames, since we're not doing an animation, well, we're doing an animation, but we're not doing like cinematics, right? We're not rendering out animations. We're not making a Pixar movie here. We're making a game. And that means that every time we make an animation in a timeline like this, I'm animating this based on a 30 FPS timeline, but the game could be playing back at 12 frames per second if your computer sucks, or it could be playing back at 120 if your computer is really powerful. So these frames that we're seeing here are only references for the animators. So even if I set this to like 240 frames per second, that's not going to impact how smooth the animation itself is at all. It's just a reference point for the animator. So anything that is actually important for like executing stuff is based on a time basis. So this gets fired at 15 frames ish, but really it gets fired at about half a second into the animation, because that is the important shit that we want to know. So all that, yes. Still have no idea what the default slot does. The default slot is just one of the slots that you can make with animation montages. Like, let me go into my... I swear we're going to make animations in a moment here, guys. But honestly, I'm just having fun hanging out. If we go into like characters here, and I'm at player blueprint here. We have a lot of stuff that is, I think, no longer in use. I thought I had more slots for this one. My mistake. Let's go into enemies. Basic Reaper. Do you have more slots? No. Blueprints, enemies, characters, ground, basic demon. This is just the easiest way to get to the animation blueprint, because I have no idea where the hell I stored this one. Yeah, it's just still in a weird ass folder. For this one, you might see that I have more than one slot. Yeah, so this one has a couple of different slots. It has this attack slot over here, which it uses to play attack animations, but then later on it also has the revenge attack and the death slots. And that is just to set up like priority. The base input here, the first thing that it inputs, is its walking and idle animation blend space. But then if it attacks, it's just going to simply override whatever goes in here. This is its knockback animation, so even if it is currently attacking something, the knockback animation is going to override that whenever the knockback bool that I have here is set to being true. But if we're doing a revenge attack, which it automatically does after getting hit a certain amount of times in a row, it's going to also ignore the fact that it's being knocked back. So it's going to override that. And in the same way, if it is dying in the middle of a revenge attack, the death animation takes priority. So we're stacking up a couple of slots here in terms of priority. And all of these animation montages corresponding to those. So if we have like basic attack, you can see that it is set to default group dot attacks right there. So it's going to, and you can set this up somewhere. I just forgot where. Oh, just down here. You can just say, hey, I wanted to play at any of these slots. So I have like a bunch of slots here that it could play in. Default group, default slot is just the thing that it makes by default, but then you can make your own custom slots to play them on. So again, if we now go to the death animation, you'll see that it's placed on death.death slot, because I made a separate group for that as well. For some reason. The groups are just for organizational purposes. They don't actually like matter that much. And you can set up slots to only affect certain bones as well, I'm pretty sure. I've never really looked into that. I've seen something like that used in much more complex animation blueprints. I've never looked into it, but I think that is a thing that you can do. Anyway, let's make this animation, shall we? So, what we want to do is first we want to set the camera speed to being something much, much lower. But I don't actually want to do that in there. I want to do that in like 1.5. That's a bit better. I also want you to not move anymore. We want the starting pose. That's the first thing we want. And the starting pose here is going to be similar to the eventual pose that we have for... I need to make sure that this doesn't look like he's breaking his freaking elbow. So yeah, the starting pose here is going to be similar to the pose we had for the idle. But we actually need to pose the entire animation because this is going to override the entire thing. So, I think... Hold on, which direction do these fingers go? Oh, what moments? Okay, they go inward. That's what I needed. And then we want to just turn this around a little bit. Maybe even with this one, to be honest with you. Because then at about 30 frames, the way I tend to animate, now that we've gone over a lot of technical stuff, I'm going over like, not saying that this is a good animation workflow by any means, it's just the way I do it, is usually I space out a couple of poses first, always either like 10 or 30 or 50 or whatever frames apart, and then I start to time them, to create the timing, and then I fine-tune things with curves. At least I've been trying to get into the habit of using curves. I used to use a lot of like extra keyframes. There's a lot of reasons that you don't want to do that. I'm going to refill my water bottle. That's going to take like literally 10 seconds, and then we're going to move on with this animation. I just remembered I was going to tell you a story about my air fryer. So, before the stream, right, I was having dinner, as you do, because I'm a human being, I need to eat. And I made myself some French fries in the air fryer, because I haven't deep fried anything in friggin' years. I really like air frying stuff. Yes, I'm one of those people. Fucking sue me. And I bought this air fryer, I think at this point, 2.5 years ago for like $50 or something. It's a pretty cheap air fryer. It does the job though. Like, I live alone. I don't need a big air fryer. I don't need a fancy air fryer. I just need something that works. And it does. It did. I don't know if it still does. So... yeah, I'm going to need to... oh, that's... yeah, that makes more big movement, doesn't it? So I finish up, and usually when I set the time on my air fryer, what I do is like I just crank the knob a little bit. It has a little bit of a knob. It doesn't have like a digital interface or anything. So I just crank that knob up, and I just check every like 5 minutes or something how things are doing, because instructions on how long things need to be in the air fryer, again, it's a pretty cheap thing, so probably doesn't actually like reach the heat, and it's not airtight whatsoever, so a lot of the heat escapes. Things tend to have to be in there a little bit longer than packaging says. So what I do is I just crank it, and then I check every 5 or so minutes, and when it's done, I just crank the knob back to 0 and just make it finish. Which is probably not great for the built-in timer, because it's an entirely mechanical thing, and you can definitely feel some resistance when turning it back. So I probably shouldn't have been doing that in the first place. What happened today was... okay, it's pretty good anticipation. what happened today was pretty funny because I cranked it back as I usually do, and after finishing frying my fries, and it just broke. The knob went further than 0 minutes remaining, which I don't ever have to tell you this, but that's probably not a good thing. But the little ding didn't happen. It has a little bell built in, like again, very much a mechanical. Fucking, what even is going on with? I fucked up some white painting. We'll worry about that later. And let's do this in, actually no, local. Hold on, that's not the driver that I wanted to. Yeah. Again, it's entirely mechanical, right? So that little ding is actually like a bell being hit once the timer runs out, which is quite neat. But that didn't happen either, which was the part that worried me, because the timer itself was still ticking. I was like, oh my god, did I just go over the timer? Is it? Can I even reset this now? So I spent like 40 minutes before the stream trying to crank this thing like either or direction to make it finish its timer, because it does have that ticking sound, which again is a mechanical thing. So it's not even like I can pull out the power, which I did, to make it stop, because it's got like an entire separate battery on its own. I don't know why it wouldn't just use the power that you supply from the wall for that, because it still needs power for that. So it just has its own, I don't know, okay? But it wouldn't ding. It wouldn't ding. So I figured, okay, I'm just going to set this thing down into the bathroom where it's not going to bother me during the stream, because otherwise you would have heard the ticking sound the entire time in the background. And I'm going to worry about this after the stream. Luckily, like 10-20 minutes into the stream, it did the ding. I don't know if it works now. If I just put the knob back on it, I don't know if the timer has fixed itself, or if I just have an air fryer that is mostly functional, except for the fact that I can't turn it on because the knob doesn't work. Also, it's 8 p.m. here. It feels like it's like 1 a.m. for me, as far as my brain goes. But it's 8 p.m. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, that definitely needs... This needs to be like rotated a lot more closed. So a lot more like this and that. But not clipping into itself. Okay, see what that looks like. Okay, so the wrist movement actually doesn't start until later on, right? So we first have big motion from the shoulder, and then later on only do we get the smaller motion from the wrist. Once we actually like get the thing to target position. So we have big motion, medium motion, small motion. Which then inversely works with the actual effects on the scythe itself. I think. I also think that I want him to be leaning a little bit more forward when we get to this point. So that might be a... we don't have a lot of room to make him lean a lot more forward. So I guess what we want to do is maybe... we want to do a little bit more like this. Like, yeah, straighten out the spine a little bit. And then make the entire body lean more forward. I think that might be what we want to do. We also want to make sure that the spine keyframes stay and this entire bit needs to be just faster, right? Just this is no Blender. I just realized in Blender you can scale parts of animations, and that is really, really cool. You can't do that in Unreal. You can only scale entire clips, which is less cool. I won't worry about like overshoot and stuff like that in a moment. That might be a little slow still as well. It is a quick attack, right? I called it quick attack or quick slash or something like that. So some anticipation is good, but not too much. I am really bothered by the fact that something is... oh, it's the inside of the cloak isn't being parented to anything. We just need to fix that up at some point. That's not that big a deal. But that, I think that is actually too fast now, because now it doesn't actually show the motion all that well. So specifically this part of the animation maybe can do with like a couple more frames of movements. Not too much, again, doesn't need to be slow. I think that's pretty good as far as timing goes. Of course, the curves are going to make this work a little bit better still. Maybe what we also want to do is we want to... hold on. Maybe we want to make these move a little bit more like that. I think that feels more natural. Let me just... and also just these need to be tilted back more. Which also makes it diving forward probably a little bit more impactful, because going from being bent backward to being bent forward is probably just a more impactful movement to begin with. And makes them less static. Let's compact that down to 30 frames, which again is going to make some of these frames not line up with actual frames, because Unreal sucks. And this doesn't need to loop or anything. Because it's going to be a montage, just going to be an action that blends in and out. So that's fine. Let's do a little bit of curving. Let's curve out. Curve in, whatever. That is the spine. All of these spines are going to need to be... Spine 1 doesn't animate at all until that point. This is pretty linear for spine 2. I suppose we could maybe make this a bit more like that. The idea is that he needs to like have a moment of recentering before he goes in and does the actual swing. So we don't get that ping-ponging effect too much. And the way we do that is mostly by just pulling these tangents out a little bit more. So we get flatter curves at the top and bottom here. I pretty much, I think, do that with all of them, is the idea. Some more than others. Again, we'll go over this at some point and fine-tune them again. This one peaks a lot earlier, so we probably want these to actually be... yeah. These ones I'm going to disconnect, because I want to just pull this one out a lot more. Because this movement I like, but it just needs to stay around a lot longer and then move around. Yes. And then spine 6, which is... I don't even know which one that is. I think that is... let's see. That still has rotation value to it. So I thought that was going to just be the neck and the face, which we also do need to animate. I don't think we have those animated at the moment. But we'll worry about that in a moment. I don't think I've been pulling the Z out too much, but I also don't think that that is a pretty relevant axis, to be honest with you. So, like, we can pull them out a little bit, but it doesn't matter that much. I hate that it starts by default with these tangents being like distance locked. Like, why would you want that? And then 7 and 9 are not important. That gets us to the arms, which I don't care about. We have this arm I do care about though. Specifically the X rotation. And I'm going to break these tangents from each other again. Because I want them to be different sizes. See how much smoother that is already? Just by pulling out a couple of curves. Like, it still stops very suddenly because we haven't done anything about those curves yet. We will. But that already is so much smoother. But now we get to the actual difficult bits, which is the arc of the swing. Which is mostly a hand movement, I think. So let's try and get this thing fixed up. Oh, that's actually interesting that you can do that. I didn't know that you could move it as a line like that. That's really interesting. Oh, it's because both of them are selected. Okay, that is why. I thought that was just a function if you like select a line or something. No, it's just because both of the points were selected. Okay. Still interesting to note that you can do that. Like, of course you can do that, but you know? Yeah, that last bit is too fast. We probably just need this keyframe to... maybe not that much. To extend past a little bit, right? It doesn't feel like the wrist movement is related to the rest of the arm. So maybe what we do is we set this to there and this to there. Does that make it? No. Maybe the wrist movement's fine. Let's snap these to a frame so we can move them around a little bit better. Frame by frame, this looks fine. It's just too fast. So maybe these need to be pulled around a little bit as well. And this is the reason that we work with curves, because now we can very easily, we do have 2 keyframes here, I need to look at that in a moment, because now we can very easily move around just a couple of keyframes, and all of the smoothness of what we just did and all the like anticipation and hanging around and like recentering is all on through curves. So all that data is still there because that's just like tangent positions. So it's easier to retime your animations if you work with curves like this. Yeah, now it's too slow again. There's also a little bit of me just, again, being very tired today, so I'm just gonna delete this keyframe and pretend like that wasn't an important one. That was definitely an important one, never mind. I'm gonna delete this one and pretend like it wasn't important. And I think that one actually wasn't important, so that's fine. Still, something's off about it. I think I might need an extra keyframe here. What I think I might need, I'm just gonna try it. I don't know if this will work, but I think I actually need to give this like more of a hinge, so this movement can be yeah, I think that might be it. And then the arm as a whole needs to keep moving. Okay, I think if we add overshoot motion to that with curves, we might be golden. I think that might be good. And somehow we are still not clipping anywhere, which is, well, maybe here for like a frame, but it's quite amazing how we managed to do that without paying any attention to it whatsoever. So all of these, I simply just at the very end here need to make. Hold on, can I not just? Does it not add tangents if you don't have a keyframe after it anymore? That is fucking bullshit. No, really, that actually is kind of bullshit that it doesn't do that. Like, it straight up just doesn't affect anything after. I guess that means we'll be making some keyframes for that, which I'm not a huge fan of, but sure, keyframe for everything. Let's go. Because that then gives me those extra tangents, right? So I want to just add a bit of overshoot movement to all of this. Just some overshoot and correction. And probably bigger than the default sizes. That'll make it less static, right? Because right now we have this and then it just suddenly stops moving. What we're going to do is it's going to overshoot and recenter itself on all the keyframes. Which I'm sure there's straight up just a better automated way of doing this for every keyframe. Well, we don't want to do it for every keyframe, do we? Only for the last ones. Still, I'm sure that there's a somewhat automated way to do this for all of the final ones. For now, we're just gonna stick with this because I say so. And we'll get back to all of these keyframes in a moment and break the tangents apart so that we can maintain some of the curvature that we had. Without fucking everything up like I am right now. Because this is probably going to make the animation as a whole look worse. Is my guess. Yes, I'm making all of the animations fully in Unreal Engine. Because I like sticking in one software when I can, if it makes sense. If there's any significant advantages to using something that is not all in Unreal, I will use it, like Substance Painter. But if there isn't, I like sticking in Unreal. Another big advantage of not doing everything in Unreal is if you were to switch engines, you still have all of your tools that you already know. But I'm just banking on the fact that Unreal doesn't pull Unity and I'll be fine. Which is a lot of trust to put into a business. And maybe a little too much. But then again, technically speaking, if I used Unreal only to make animations and I were to move over to like Godot, I don't think I would need to pay them any royalties for that, right? Would that fall under their new license that they charge like movie studios for now? Maybe it would. I don't know. Again, I'm just banking on them not being actually evil any more than like the average mega corporation anyway. And letting just me stay in Unreal without being evil. That's my preference. Is not having to worry about that. But that is another downside to my strategy of just wanting everything inside Unreal, is if they fuck up, I am screwed. Because I have to relearn a lot of stuff. Then again, a lot of specifically like animations skill is very transferable, I would argue. So it's probably fine. Okay, now let's look at what this animation looks like, because it's probably screwed up a lot from all those curves that I just changed. But maybe not, we will see. Most of the curve work that we did was around these keyframes anyway. See how much smoother that is now? It still doesn't really feel like it has the weight to it that I want. And that's because I probably want the arm to stay behind a little bit. I want the... Yeah, so what I probably want is I want these spine things to start rotating or stop rotating a lot sooner already. So this one also has... So you probably want to do something... The timing for this doesn't make sense. I just want to be very clear about that. And I don't think that these have animation data, right? Actually, they seem to. That's exactly not what I envisioned that to do. So let's Ctrl-Z my way through. Why is it rebuilding the nav mesh? Oh, because I'm clipping through the floor. And it's taking that collision into account, apparently. I'm Ctrl-Zing too much, I'm not paying attention! We're gonna do this one animation and then call it a day. Because I'm not making a lot of progress. I was expecting this to be a somewhat shorter stream, and surprisingly it's not been, but it's been very unproductive nonetheless. So, okay, what we want is like these keyframes to be finishing around this time. No, we want those to be finishing late. What do we want? You see my brain is stopping now. So, okay, what we want is we want that arm movement into the swing to be the last thing. So what we want is we want to have him rotate back, arm lagging behind, rotate forward, arm lagging behind. So rotate back, arm lagging behind. Curve editor. Here we go. So we want this arm lagging behind. So the way we do that is by pulling out these curves. I keep using middle mouse to navigate my menus, and that's not how that works. It's always nice to use like 5 different pieces of software to animate in. Or just to work in general, actually. It's not all animation. So if this lags behind, we might need to move around a couple of keyframes as well, but I'm trying to do most of it again as much as possible through curves. If nothing else, to really drill the usage of curves into my mind. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a weird one, I think. Okay, what does that look like? Yeah, we just need to move some of these keyframes as well. So let's just move this 2 frames, 3 frames, and 4 frames. See how much more that actually did. moving those keyframes. Okay. And then, yeah, so those need to lag behind, so those need to do that. And then this entire thing can do a little bit of that. We're getting there. We're starting to get there. At some point this will look halfway decent. And not much better than halfway decent, because I can't say this enough, I am not an animator. Now the last bit of the animation looks too fast again. It's because they also all end around the same time. So we need these to end a little sooner. And then these two end one at a time, like a frame after each other. And then in its entirety be like 2 frames faster. And this keyframe is just straggling about, seeing how it does. I think we've gotten to the point where I should not be making any major changes anymore to this. Not because it is finished or perfect by any means. But because I actually do think that it looks pretty good now. But because I think I'm starting to look too closely, too deeply at this. With a lot of creative work, and for me, texturing and animation are on the top of that list. With a lot of creative work, my rule tends to be never deliver within 24 hours of finishing. Within reason, of course. Within reason. The idea there being is, after you've just worked on something for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, this rule started with color correction for me in video. If you've looked at a screen for more than an hour, sometimes like half a day, you are not going to be able to judge it. Because a lot of what you're going to be doing is going to be informed by all of the work that you did before. So what you need to do is you need to step away. You need to just go home, have a night's sleep, have a drink, whatever it is you do at home, come back the next day. And going home is mostly metaphorical, right? Because if you work from home, there's like a hobby thing that you do. You don't go to an office. But you come back the next day and you check it again. And if it still looks good the next day, it's actually good. But chances are, when you come back the next day, you're going to see a lot of issues that you didn't see the day before. Or you're going to see solutions that you didn't see the day before, or things that might have looked off the day before because you were looking so closely at them actually just look fine, apparently. And at that point, you can say, okay, let's ship this. This is good to go. I've now gotten to a point where the stream is 2 hours long. We didn't get started on this animation until like 1 hour 30 in. But my brain is dead, so you can multiply the time I spent on this by like 3, and that's about the workload it had on my brain. So effectively we've been spending an hour and a half on this, right? Let's pretend like that's the case. So I'm not going to make any judgments on whether or not this is a good animation now. Because I can just spend another 3 hours moving around curves and moving around keyframes, and maybe we'll end up at a good position right at that point. But doing that for an unreasonable amount of time, instead of just taking some time away and coming back tomorrow and doing that in like 30 minutes, is not a productive use of anybody's time. Although I do think that moving those keyframes like 2 frames to the right probably was the right call there. So maybe I'm undermining my own advice here. I don't know. What I do know is that it's been a mess of a stream, frankly. It's been very chaotic. Oh, hold on. No, I was going to show you how we do the entire thing. If what's your face is still here. So after we do that, we create this linked animation sequence, which is this one right here. I'm very good at drawing. I do, and that'll be Reaper Quick Attack 1. Funny thing is, this is going to be the easier one, because the other attack is going to go the other way. So we need him to slash with his scythe from right to left instead of left to right from our current perspective. And that is going to be an issue, because he only has one hand. And that hand is very much like directional. So what I'll probably do... Oh no, I don't have an animation bone for the scythe. Okay, that's going to be a challenge that we face on Thursday. I don't care about that right now at all. Oh, you can just... I put in a path there. I never realized that. Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, which is the next animation that I would logically make. So again, that's probably going to be the next stream. Hopefully we make more than one animation a stream at this pace. Again, it's been a wild couple of weeks. Reaper, animation sequences, there we go. So hopefully the next stream we can at least make 2 animations. What I want to do is I want to just like say Quick Attack 1 we've done now. We might polish it up a little bit, but I'll probably do some of that off stream as well. Next time we'll probably do this one, a slower attack, which is actually more difficult to do. And we'll probably do the dashing, or maybe we'll keep a slow attack for a separate stream to get up with the taunt. And then we'll do the Quick Attack 2 and the dash animation plus the swing for the dashing animation next time. Because this one is the one that I'm eager to do, because this is the special attack. Same time as today's stream on Thursday. So that is like today is the 16th. Thursday will be the 18th. So that's when I'll be streaming next. Usually I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays. Didn't do it last week because I was preparing for a weekend of very rough work. Which is also why I'm a fucking mess today. So now we have the animation sequence for that. So we have Quick Attack 1 animation sequence, which again, yeah, definitely probably still needs a little bit of work, but we'll get to that. And then we can simply right click and create an animation. Wow, I went to South Park there. Animation montage for it. So we can say Reaper Quick Attack 1. Let's call that montage. Reaper Quick Attack 1. And now it's an animation montage that we can play as a montage and yada yada yada. So we make that separate folder for that as well. And then montages. Just for organizational purposes, really. Because the organization of this project is a mess as it is. If you... I still need to fix this up in the Discord. But if you're in the Discord, there will just be like pings going out whenever I upload a video or a stream goes live. I don't think I can make a difference between those, actually. I need to change up my Discord bots because people have been complaining that they get too much pinging going on, which is fair. It's just, again, I've been too busy to like learn to set up a new bot. But I want to be able to have people say, hey, I don't want to get pinged every single time there's a video, because there's like every day there's going to be a ping. There's almost an upload to the channel every day, and I can understand that getting annoying. So for the time being, the only thing that you can do is just mute notifications for the server. But then, if you do want to keep up to date with certain pings, I don't know if there's a bot that will let me make a difference between videos, shorts, and streams automatically. So maybe I just need to set up something that manually pings everybody. But I don't like doing things manually because I'm bad at it. I don't know. Changing the ping to add here is probably actually a good idea instead of add everyone, because at that moment, like if you're logging on to Discord 3 hours after I finish the stream, you don't need that ping. You'll just see it in your YouTube feed at that point. Anyway, you can set your own alert, but if you want to be bothered by pings, I do have it set up on the Discord as well. I'm actually going to, after I end the stream, go into MeSeeks and change the message from add everyone to add here, because I do think that's a fantastic middle ground ID for the time being. I just also need to set up a new bot system where people can unsubscribe from those pings and just set up a role for that. But again, I'm going to at some point do that, but not right now. What I'm going to do right now is end the stream, and thank you all for watching. And I will see you back. Maybe set up a separate Discord bot that posts different Discord channels. I don't know how that would work. Because the issue that I'm having is that the bot needs to be able to differentiate between different kinds of activities on the same YouTube channel. Because right now it just says, hey, a video went up, whether that be a video, a short, or a live stream, and I don't know if like the YouTube API allows for differentiation between those for Discord bots to use. So that is mostly my issue. So they all get posted in the same channel anyway. Like I have an announcements channel where everything gets posted, so it doesn't like bog down any other channels. But even if I have like 3 different bots, I don't know if those different bots can be watching out for different activity. That's the thing. It's like not a Discord side thing. It's I don't know if YouTube... Well, I don't know which side would be the problem here, but the issue is that it's one YouTube channel, which it monitors the activity on. When something happens, it throws out a notification. And the issue, the bottleneck there, is in the differentiation of the different kinds of activities on the YouTube channel. Like, if I can split that out into different bots, they can still just all be thrown into one channel, that's fine. Because at that point, I can just make different rules for them. The thing that I'm trying to figure out is if there's a way for the bot to see what kind of activity the YouTube channel did. Because that way people can specifically say, I don't want to be pinged for shorts. Because there's like 2 shorts a week that get uploaded, or 3 sometimes. And they're like 60 seconds long. Do you want to ping for that? No. People hardly want subscriber notification for that, for good reason. But the main videos, people might want to be pinged for. And if we make that differentiation, maybe I want to be able to also... Maybe you can do it based on like tags or something. Because it probably can read metadata. I don't know. That's the thing that I've been thinking about and been trying to figure out, but it's, you can see why I haven't tackled it yet, because there's like a big issue there. But there should be a way for the bot to figure out the type of content, because I'm pretty sure, like, the bot can probably read in the title of the video. So at least for shorts, it should be able to check whether or not it has hashtag shorts in the title, because I still do that. I don't think you need to anymore, but I still do. So it probably should be able to check the title before posting something. So checking, hey, does title have this string in it? If so, don't post. That should be reasonably attainable. But I would prefer not to have to write my own Discord bot. So I hope that there's a Discord bot out there that can just already do that. Because my issue is that it's just, like, I have a job and a YouTube channel and a Discord server, and I can really put a lot of time into 2 out of 3. Anyway, maybe this weekend I'll be able to look into it, but this weekend I'll be also doing a lot of editing for that 12-hour video that well, the video isn't 12 hours, hold on. The video isn't 12 hours, it's 12 hours of development in one video. The video is going to be like 15 minutes. I am dying down here, holy fuck. I'm gonna go. It's been a good one. See ya.